My name is George. I'm 27 years old and I've been in Mexico for 3.5 years. I was deported from the United States 3.5 years ago. And I was deported because at 8 months old, I was taken to the US. Apparently, I was undocumented. I did not know I didn't have any legal status. Now, I didn't have a good relationship with my parents. Actually, at age 13, I was kicked out of my house because my stepdad no longer wanted to bear burden for a kid that was not his. And so at 13, he kicks me out. I get into a lot of trouble being out there in the streets by myself, homeless, and I land myself in a boot camp. Once I completed the boot camp, I was sent back to the same neighborhood, my same household. But in this household, I was not wanted. So I had no choice but to return back to the streets, back to being homeless, back to trying to survive on my own. Long story short, I've gone to boot camp 3 times. I've never had what you would consider family support. I've been very distant from my family. I was basically the black sheep of the household. I grew up thinking, hey, you know what? Once I turn 18, I'm going to get a job and I'm going to be able to provide for myself. I just have to be able to make it. I was 19 when I was arrested or questioned for a crime that was committed in my neighborhood. I did not know anything about this crime, but because I didn't, immigration also wanted to question me. I had no use for information for anybody, so immigration questioned about where I was born. Now, I knew I was born in Mexico. I knew that. I just didn't know what that meant. I thought at 8 months, I was practically raised in the U.S. I went to school. I graduated from high school. I was also registered with the Selected Services. I actually tried to enroll in the military, but I wasn't able to because I was deported right before my last meeting or my last appointment with the recruitment officer. I was deported at age 19. I was sent to Mexico. I did not know where I was, what I was doing. I did not really speak Spanish. I spoke really, really terrible Spanish, and it was mainly slang words that I had picked up in California. So I had no choice but to return back to the United States. I returned 5 days later, and I moved to Alabama, a place that I had been before at 16. I had visited my sister out there, and I lived there for 2.5 years. I get pulled over one day and the officer, that pulled me over calls immigration because he felt that maybe I didn't have legal status. Little did I know that once you return back to a place you consider home, once you return back home, that makes you automatically eligible to be prosecuted in a federal courtroom under what is known as the illegal re-entry into the country after being removed. I had no idea. I felt like, hey, I'm just going home. I have nobody in Mexico. I have no ties to Mexico. I hardly speak the language. I want to go back home. Returning home causes me to be federally prosecuted for a felony for re-entering the country without proper inspection. Now, that's fine. I try to fight my case in immigration court. I try to fight my case and explain to the judge, you know what, Your Honor, I've been here since I was 8 months old. I had no idea I was undocumented, but if you give me the opportunity, I will fix my status. But there was no way to fix my status. I'm not from the U.S., but Mexico doesn't consider me part of Mexico either. I had no country. Nobody wanted me, or I did not understand the culture, or I did not have any relatives here that I knew of. I wanted to be home. I wanted to be in the U.S. I have 2 kids that are in California. I haven't seen in 6 years, and that's not okay. I was deported 3.5 years ago. I have a lifetime bar. What that means is that even if I try to go back the legal way, I can't. There is no way for me to go back legally. A lifetime bar means I can never return. But there is a way. There is a way to return. I have to spend 10 years outside of the U.S. in order to be able to even apply for a waiver of my inadmissibility. That means that I have to spend 10 years out here away from my children, away from my family, in a culture that I'm not really comfortable with and I don't really know, with no type of support. And I have to spend 10 years out here and then ask to be let back in. Chances are slim to none that they will approve that. They're probably not going to approve it because the approval rate is very, very low, especially if you've already been deported twice. I want to return back to the U.S. I want to be able to see my family and my kids. Right now, I work for an immigration attorney. I also work for the University of San Diego. I made some poor choices based on my circumstances. I understand that, and I step up to the plate. And since then, I have continued to demonstrate what kind of character I have. I feel that maybe if the chances are slim to none, that I'll fall in that very, very slim chance and that I'll be able to return. But we won't know until 10 years from now. And if I'm told no, that means that that's it. I don't have a chance. I have to stay in Mexico forever.